both have, they're different, a very clear stumbling block to getting to where they're trying to get to. So for Josh, it's just he has yet to show us the ability to have a start-to-finish great regular season, which would then allow you to, for the first time ever, have a bye or home field advantage, to not be playing these brutally tough playoff games in round 2 that have been knocked him out of the playoffs, right? But he has the resume of maybe the second-best quarterback in the league, but because of not being able to do it from September to January, it's not crystal clear. For Lamar, it's very different than that, because you can make a case that from September to January, Lamar's the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, you want to see the case?
Yeah, let me see it.
First 6 years as a starter. Regular season, Lamar is number 1.
Yeah.
A 753 win percentage. Problem when we get to the playoffs, unfortunately, is 2-4.
Yeah.
He's got 2 MVPs. So if you want to say he's the GOAT, regular season GOAT, you can get pretty close to it.
And to be fair, he doesn't quite have a better regular season win percentage than Mahomes, but he has the 2 MVPs, and people would argue he didn't have, at least the beginning of his career, the supporting cast Mahomes had the beginning of his, he had to play his rookie season, which took some, which Mahomes didn't have to deal with. But it's then, so now we can put up my graphic, because this is what works against him. He is in the regular season, just throw out his rookie year because it's unfair to him. I'm just using passer rating because Lamar does more than that. Obviously he has, but even just passer rating, he's 6th in the whole league. And then in the playoffs drops all the way to 21st. So for Lamar, before you can have any of these discussions, because Wilds, if you were to say, other than Mahomes, what quarterback would you like to have on your team for this coming regular season?
Me?
Yeah.
Drake May, probably, but then probably Lamar.
Lamar, right? Yeah. It's a legitimate. But if I were to say to you, you have a playoff game this weekend, I think I would take Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Stroud.
I can't say Stroud. He just beat Stroud.
Okay,
Stroud's hype needs to. Everyone put Stroud over Lamar, and I love C.J. Stroud. The guy won the MVP. They played head-to-head, and he beat him. He beat him twice.
All right, so let's take Stroud off it. That's fine. I disagree. I think Stroud in 1 year has as many great playoff games as Lamar has in his career. But take Stroud off it. That's fine. If Goff, Jordan Love, Baker, in a playoff game, Baker has 3 times as many excellent playoff games as Lamar does. Stafford, no question. Dak, I would rather have in a playoff game.
Okay, let's hit the brakes. Let's hit.
What's the argument? What's the argument against it? What's the argument against there being 10? That's the problem. There's 10 guys in this league that if you were told, at least for me, I was told we have a playoff game this weekend, who can I pick at quarterback that I would name before I name Lamar Jackson? The numbers
aren't kind to him in the playoffs. Hopefully it's just small sample size. I mean, it's 6 games. But
6 games, not that small. Playoff games.
Kind of small.
Who would you rather have in a playoff game this year, Jalen Hurts or Lamar?
I like Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the problem is the dichotomy between it. Because over the course of a regular season, other than Mahomes, you could say Lamar is the clear-cut number 1 draft pick. But over the course of a postseason, I think there's a third of the league you'd rather have.
All right, so let's get into the playoffs. Super Bowl odds for the Ravens right now. Rematch.
I didn't even mention Trevor. Oh, my goodness.
No, there's a reason.
I didn't even mention Trevor.
Yeah, he's good for half. Chiefs 49ers are tied at number 1. Then it's Lamar, then the Lions, then Joe Burrow, and then Jalen Hurts. Baltimore too high, too low, or just right. And I got a hot take brewing here.
Oh, do you want to start with it?
No, because it's a take that comes after your take.
I think they're too high, meaning I don't think they should be 3rd. I think they should be closer to 7th or 8th.
Oof.
As far as they lost 2 key offensive linemen. They lost multiple members of a great defense and their defensive coordinator. They are in, I think we all agree, the toughest division in the sport, and a schedule that is harder than really imaginable. Their road games are, other than the Giants, their road games are Kansas City, Dallas, Tampa, the Chargers, Houston, and the 3 road divisional opponents. They have one gimme road game all year long. And so, and look at it a different way, Wilds. How many of those games on that schedule do you look at and say, definite
easy
win?
Dub, yeah.
I count 3.
You have got the Raiders,
Yep.
the Commanders, and the Giants.
Yep, that's it.
Tough one.
I count 3 easy victories. Now, that's not about Baltimore. And by the way, a lot of the AFC North has brutal schedules because you play each other, but Baltimore has the downside of the strength of schedule games, adding those other tough opponents. So it's just a impossibly tough schedule coming off a year where the defense was great and you lose the coordinator. So I just think I think that's too high. And by the way, I heard, gosh darn it, Football Outside, Aaron Schatz this week talking about how they have Baltimore as either the best or the second best team in the league going into this year. Baltimore and San Francisco. Like, a lot of the smart analytics folks love Baltimore. I just think they're overvalued at the moment.
Okay, so we talked about, Lamar's playoff struggles. I want to show you another graphic. And this is boiling hot, so I'm not actually going to say it. I'm just going to present some stuff and try to convince you to say it. Ravens in the playoffs under John Harbaugh. Started off really good, 9-4. Recently, 3-6.
The Tomlin thing, too.
Then there was a headline, some more Sun, that we're going to pull for Brew, but since Brew is not here. For Ravens, it's Super Bowl or bust, despite changes to the roster of the coaching staff. So Super Bowl or bust, we always kind of get on Broussard about it. It's like, well, what does the bust mean? Do things actually change? Doesn't seem like Lamar is going to go anywhere. If the Ravens come up short, is it just another run-it-back year? Or is there a chance that I look from the top down and say something's got to change?
So here's the thing. I think people have forgotten. One of the reasons John Harbaugh, and it was now 6 years ago, but switched from Flacco to Lamar mid-season was because he was going to get fired. That was like a save my job, pull this parachute type of thing. Now Flacco got
Flacco can still play.
Evidently. Flacco got hurt and they put Lamar in, but then they stuck with him. People at that time was like, man, haven't won a playoff game. I think they had won 1 playoff game since the Super Bowl. There was a lot of like, did we peak years ago and have just been on the downslope? And then since then with Lamar, they've had this massive success. I think right now is an odd moment to say he's on the hot seat because they're coming off playoffs and regular season, but playoffs as well, their best year since the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They won a playoff game. They had the bye. They made it to the conference championship game. So I don't look at John Harbaugh on the hot seat. What I do think is, the reason I said the Tomlin thing is, those are 2 coaches, same division and, bitter rivals as it happens, who had massive success almost immediately upon taking over as the head coach. And then since then have had no real, for Tomlin, 0, and for the Ravens, close to 0, like awful years, but not the consistent championship contender that we got used to early in their.
Well, I felt like it was intellectually